didn't happen in the first half. So much could happen after the halftime that can actually change the course of the rest of the game. That's the mindset we need to have. And that's the mindset that I believe that Trump has. And if we all have that mindset together, that this is just halftime, Trump isn't going anywhere, he's got the rest of the time to make up the game, I think that we'll be in good shape, because we have to have the winning position. We have to have that winning mindset. We got to. And we're uncovering so much fraud. There has been so much fraud that it's almost fraud, and accounts of fraud has been spreading faster than COVID. All over the country, we've been seeing fraud. People have been discussing their allegations of fraud, affidavits. There's just nonstop different types of fraud that has occurred in the last week, and then all the way leading up to it. This was a very highly organized, multi-level fraudulent operation, and it just gets thicker and dirtier and stickier. So with that being said, there's a new piece of fraud, a new form of fraud that may be happening, and we can't verify for sure, but I think that we're on to something, okay? And I think that this is kind of cracking the code a little bit here. So you know how the Dems just absolutely love to say that women are the ones that vote Democrat. Women for Hillary Clinton, women for Biden. Biden does so much better with women, and Trump does terribly with women because women think, oh, he's such a misogynist, he's such a sexist, he's terrible. Well, this is the narrative they have been screaming down our throats for the last couple years. There may be a reason, a bigger reason, why they keep pushing the women for Biden. Well, I bring you, and there, of course, I'm with her. What about I'm with him? I personally would much rather have a big badass bodyguard for my president than a weak, frail, senile old man, or a bitchy feminist woman who's really more like a man like Hillary. But I welcome you to Maidengate. Hashtag Maidengate. Maidengate started trending in the wee early hours of last night when I was scrolling my phone like I often do at about 2, 3 in the morning, because I can't sleep because I'm just thinking about all of these things with the election. And so I look at Maidengate is trending. I'm saying, what is Maidengate? Maidengate is a bunch of women that are coming forward that said that they believe that their maiden name was being used by the Democrats to cast multiple votes. Okay. So when a woman, she has a name, right? You know, DeAnna Lorraine, right? And then if she gets married, obviously she would change her name typically to the husband's name. And now she has a maiden name and her current name. Okay. But what we believe is occurring is the Democrats have used this, have looked into women and used that to steal an extra vote or even multiple votes. So their maiden name counts as one vote. Their current name can count as another vote. And then they can also sort of, they have they're sort of, they don't have any blame, right? Sort of because, it could just be a little bit of a mistake. It was just, we just didn't know. They could play dumb. So they can cast multiple votes on this. And then obviously when people move out of state, that's another form of voting fraud, because they're also casting multiple votes. And then as well as trans people. So you know how the left always tries to get the trans community into voting for Dems. Well, if a trans person has changed their name, that's another extra vote, because if they've changed their name, they're no longer that person, or they've registered to vote as a different name than, say, a few years ago, then again, that's an extra vote for these people. And it's really sick, but the more I thought about it, and the more women were coming forward saying, yeah, I looked and my vote was cast by my maiden name, and it was cast by my married name. That's an extra vote. And some people have had multiple ballots sent to each name and at each address that they've been registered in for the last 20 years. Okay, that's extra ballots that they're picking up. That's total fraud. And then not only that, but there's this big group, of course, that it's funded by George Soros and all these people in open societies, and it's called supermajority. Supermajority. And supermajority claims to be a women's empowerment group, and their goal is to get more women voting. Their goal is to energize women to get them voting. Sounds all great, sounds all innocent, right? Supermajority. But what we found is that supermajority is texting and calling all these women, millions of women all over the country, and sending them texts. So many of these women have come forward and said, I didn't even sign up for this. I'm not even a Democrat. I'm a Republican, right? I'm a Trump supporter. They don't know how they got on this list, but somehow they got on this list, and supermajority is reaching out to them, and they're asking them, they're sending them automated texts saying, hey, we're from supermajority. Or we're from Black Lives Matter. They have different names sometimes. We're from, a politically correct union. And we want to know what your voting schedule is. Do you plan on voting, yes or no? Do you plan on voting early, yes or no? Do you plan on voting how? By mail, early voting, by absentee, or in person, and when? So they're getting their schedule. Then they ask them more personal information, apparently, if they're single, if they're married. So all of this might seem like, oh, we're just trying to help our women. We're trying to get information to help you vote. But what the theory is that they're using this personal information to find out, A, is this woman married? Has she been married multiple times? Can we get extra votes out of this? And B, can we, if depending on if they're voting in person or if they're saying they're voting by mail, then they can pick up extra ballots that way. They can send them extra ballots. They have their little carrier pigeon, pick up those ballots from the mailbox, and then boom, that's extra Biden votes, right? All of these are just extra Biden votes. Or they calculate, these are how many votes are going to be coming early. These are how many votes that are going to be the day of election. And this is how many votes that we're going to have to cheat by or somehow grow and fabricate in order to reach our Biden win in this state. So it's very insidious, but you should look it up. I think this could have cracked some kind of code here. Maidengate. Check it out. I would encourage, if you're a woman, check to see if your maiden name, go to the voter file and see if your ballot was accepted, first of all, and if it was accepted by your maiden name as well as your married name, and see, are there any discrepancies? Were there multiple ballots sent out? Okay. And also check previous addresses. Were there multiple ballots sent out from previous states or cities that you lived in? Because we are seeing so much evidence of this fraud, and we think that another way that the disgusting DNC and Biden have been cheating the vote is through the women. They're doubling women's votes, and also with military votes, right? Military wives, they might be sending these people multiple ballots, scooping them up for Biden. Again, also with most military families, they typically move every 2 years, right? They typically move every 2 years. So the theory is also that they're taking their addresses, sending them to their old addresses, and then they're just kind of playing dumb if they ever to get caught because it seems innocent, and then they're picking up those extra ballots. There's also evidence in Nevada, especially, that Dems have been sending, having fake ballots filled out by people that aren't even old enough to vote, by children, right? Or by 17 or 16-year-olds, by dead people, by dead kids. I mean, dead grandparents. Literally, it's everywhere, this fraud. It is so disgusting. It is so deep. And this is just another very sinister way that they have been doubling votes, multiplying votes, etc. I'm DeAnna Lorraine, and I'm so excited to talk to you about the new show I'm hosting on InfoWars, Election 2020 Countdown, Taking Back America, where we're going to go over all the latest breaking news, trending topics, and truth bombs you're not going to get anywhere else. Plus, all the greatest election coverage. This is your spot to watch all the election coverage of the greatest election in American history. I host every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night from 7 to 9 p.m. Central Time. Again, that's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday Thursday night, 7 to 9 p.m. Central Time, only on InfoWars. You're going to watch the show. I want you to call in, light up the lines, and talk to me. I want to hear from you. But most importantly, I want you to watch the show. Election 2020 Countdown, Taking Back America. I'm DeAnna Lorraine, and I will see you tonight.
that the laws that govern it are sufficiently up to date. The internet is a great American success story, thanks in large part to the regulatory and legal structure our government put in place. But we cannot take that success for granted. The openness and freedom of the internet are under attack. Soon we will hear from the CEOs of three of the most prominent internet platforms, Facebook, Google, and Twitter. Our witnesses include Mr. Jack Dorsey of Twitter, Mr. Sundar Pichai of Alphabet Incorporated and its subsidiary Google, and Mr. Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook. On October 1st, this committee voted on a bipartisan and unanimous basis to approve the issuance of subpoenas. After discussions among representatives of the companies and the committee, the witnesses agreed to attend the hearing voluntarily and remotely. There is strong agreement on both sides of the aisle that hearing from these witnesses is important to the deliberations before this committee, including deliberations on what legislative reforms are necessary to ensure a free and open internet. For almost 25 years, the preservation of internet freedom has been the hallmark of a thriving digital economy in the United States. This success has largely been attributed to a light touch regulatory framework and to Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, often referred to as the 26 words that created the internet. There is little dispute that Section 230 played a critical role in the early development and growth of online platforms. Section 230 gave content providers protection from liability to remove and moderate content that they or their users considered to be, quote, obscene, lewd, lascivious, filthy, excessively violent, harassing, or otherwise objectionable, end quote. This liability shield has been pivotal in protecting online platforms from endless and potentially ruinous lawsuits. But it has also given these internet platforms the ability to control, stifle, and even censor content in whatever manner meets their respective standards. The time has come for that free pass to end. After 24 years of Section 230 being the law of the land, much has changed. The internet is no longer an emerging technology. The companies before us today are no longer scrappy startups operating out of a garage or a dorm room. They are now among the world's largest corporations, wielding immense power in our economy, culture, and public discourse. Immense power. The applications they have created are connecting the world in unprecedented ways, far beyond what lawmakers could have imagined 3 decades ago. These companies are controlling the overwhelming flow of news and information that the public can share and access. One noteworthy example occurred just 2 weeks ago, after our subpoenas were unanimously approved. The New York Post, the country's 4th largest newspaper, ran a story revealing communications between Hunter Biden and a Ukrainian official. The report alleged that Hunter Biden facilitated a meeting with his father, Joe Biden, who was then Vice President of the United States. Almost immediately, both Twitter and Facebook took steps to block or limit access to the story. Facebook, according to its policy communications manager, began, quote, reducing its distribution on the platform, unquote, pending a third-party check, a third-party fact check. Twitter went beyond that, blocking all users, including the House Judiciary Committee, from sharing the article on feeds and through direct messages. Twitter even locked the New York Post account entirely, claiming the story included hacked materials and was potentially harmful. It is worth noting that both Twitter and Facebook's aversion to hacked materials has not always been so stringent. For example, when the president's tax returns were illegally leaked, neither company acted to restrict access to that information. Similarly, the now discredited Steele dossier was widely shared without fact-checking or disclaimers. This apparent double standard would be appalling under normal circumstances, but the fact that selective censorship is occurring in the midst of the 2020 election cycle dramatically amplifies the power wielded by Facebook and Twitter. Google recently generated its own controversy when it was revealed that the company threatened to cut off several conservative websites, including The Federalist, from their ad platform. Make no mistake, for sites that rely heavily on advertising revenue for their bottom line, being blocked from Google's services or demonetized can be a death sentence. According to Google, the offense of these websites was hosting user-submitted comment sections that included objectionable content. But Google's own platform, YouTube, hosts user-submitted comment sections for every video uploaded. It seems that Google is far more zealous